Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Roy.
Merry Christmas.
It's the Christmas show.
You know, what was that Andy Williams song? Is the most wonderful time of the year? For
It's
who?
the most. Nick used to make tapes because Nick is, if anybody that listens to the show, Nick knows that Nick is in radio. But Nick had his own radio shows in New York, and Nick would make these Christmas tapes for us to play in the businesses that we owned.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. And we had a ritual at the end of Christmas, right on Christmas Eve. They'd take the tapes because they were on cassette tapes and they'd burn them.
Because that's all the staff heard for, I think it was the whole month of December. I think the aim was from December 1st to the 24th. So for 24 straight days, because I think you were open 7 days a week, right?
We had that. It was like burnt into your brain.
Yeah. They were just as, the cassette tapes were as burnt as the music was in their brains that worked at Roy's stores.
Somewhere I have one. I kept one out of the hands of the pyros.
No, we need to archive this. You never know. One day, Nick and Roy will have a radio show and podcast. And look, here we are.
Yeah, right? Oh, my God.
So many years later, little did we know. You know what? We were way ahead of our time. But today, we're going to celebrate the season that is to be together. And Roy and I have been best friends for over 40-plus years, as you know. We're assuming you've been listening to the show along, but if this is your first time, welcome, and wait till you hear and see what your Christmas gift is going to be this year. We're going to look back at some of the highlights of some of our most cherished interviews and conversations we've had with some very interesting and albeit useless
we
people.
wanted to remember the guests that were on our show because Nick and I were just talking yesterday and how amazing it is that these guests who go on a lot of different shows, they remembered us. Some of them left us voice messages wishing us Merry Christmas and all this goodwill, and some sent us letters and Christmas cards. It's just fantastic. It was wonderful interviewing and meeting all these people, but and we're blessed to have the ability to do that. But it's Christmas time, guys, and we interrupt our regular type of show to do this, and I think you guys will learn a little bit more about Nick and I too.
What do you mean? We'll suspend our regular, like our show is really regular with totally useless information.
Oh yeah, there's nothing regular about us.
but we do appreciate what we do appreciate is this, and this is the time we're a year where people reflect on things and make lists and whatever. What we like to do is we like to share with you, because it is the season of sharing as well, some of those moments and some of the moments that. Although Roy and I prepare a show, we don't script the show. We only agree what the topics are. We don't reveal what the facts are for each topic. And so today, we're going to do something like that where we're going to say, wait a minute, what was that episode about? And then we'll play a clip of that so you can enjoy it a second time just like we did.
Yeah.
One of the people who did leave us a voicemail message was Richard Krause. Now, he works as part of the iHeartRadio Talk Network, and we're on that network. We're on coast to coast to coast in Canada, over 8 radio stations, and we really appreciate their support. So he is the entertainment critic or reviewer, and he wrote an article about the 5 things they don't put in cars anymore. And so Richard Krause left us a Christmas message.
Hey, Nick and Roy, it's Richard Krause, and I'm sitting here with Santa Claus, ho, 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 having a glass of eggnog and trying to talk him into keeping both of you on his nice list. He's not all that mad at Roy, but he thinks Nick doesn't believe in him because last year Nick said his favorite movie was A Rebel Without a Clause, and Santa did not appreciate that.
You're getting a lump of coal.
See what I mean? I've never seen him like this before.
Santa's watching you.
I'll try and calm him down, get the elves to make Nick something nice, but in the meantime, you both have a Merry Christmas, and frankly, I think Roy's probably going to have a merrier Christmas because he's going to get better gifts.
Better not pout. You better not cry.
But Nick, think about all the fun you can have with that lump of coal. Merry Christmas, you guys. We'll talk again soon.
Goodbye.
Wow. Yeah. He's got that radio voice, He's great.
He is. Wow. So I didn't realize that was that bad. My gosh. You know what, Richard? That's the last time you're on. No, just kidding. He'll be back in 2023. Don't worry.
And Richard seems to know for sure what my Christmas cheer is. It comes in a bottle.
That's right.
Doesn't have a cork. Mine has a twist off top and was made in Kentucky.
Well, at our age, I don't think anything is like a twist off, isn't it? We need a lot, all the help we can get. But let's remember some of the great moments with Richard Krause on Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. He wrote an article in the Toronto Star, which is why I invited him on the show. And the title of the article was 5 Things We Don't Find in Cars Anymore.
Metal.
Metal? Maybe it's 6 things we don't find in cars anymore. What's number 1, Richard?
Well, I had to be kind of selective. Metal was just a little bit too general for me. Number 1 is tail fins. And if you are like me, I love tail fins on cars. I grew up in the 1970s, and there were still tons of cars from the 50s and from the 60s kicking around on the streets in Nova Scotia, where I grew up. And they would have these incredible fins. And I knew someone who actually had one that had 48-inch tail fins. They were the tallest that they ever put on the back of a car. And so I did some research. I found out that they were originated by a guy called Harley Earl, who was a legend in terms of designing cars. And he loved aviation as well as cars, maybe as much as cars. So he created these fins to kind of ape the look of the Lockheed P-38 Lightning fighter plane.
Sure.
So he wanted to give these cars a real kind of aeronautic look, because in the 50s, around this time, people were obsessed with air travel. It was post-war. People wanted to fly. They loved airplanes. So he said, well, let's let them have a little taste of that in their everyday car. And, eventually they went away. They were changing tastes. One of the reasons they took the fins off the cars is that children were injured by the sharp edges on these things, especially as they got bigger. So fins are no longer with us.
You were backing up in the driveway and impaled a couple of the kids onto the back of the fin there,
But you looked good doing it, and that's what matters, I think.
Yeah, it was
Richard, I actually worked for General Motors, and I was able to see the actual original drawings that Harley Earl had made for
Is that right?
Fins, and the original Cadillac fins. Yeah. It's crazy.
I mean, cars today don't really look like much to me. They all look kind of the same. But man, you throw a set of fins on them, and I'm all into it.
Yeah, you impale the kids. You make kid kebabs.
That's
I
right.
do that when I go scuba diving too. I throw a set of fins on.
No, that's a different kind of fins. What's number 2 in the 5 things we don't find in cars anymore, Richard?
Well, the foot dimmer switch. So this came along because there have been dimmer switches of a sort on cars since the 20s. And the invention of 2-filament headlight bulbs by a company called the Guide Lamp Company in 1925 gave cars the ability to dim their switches, to dim their lights or not. Now, originally, it was on the steering wheel, so you could just click with your finger and it would change the light. Then they thought, well, there's all this wide open space on the floor. Why don't we just put it down there? Because back in those days, there weren't a lot of pedals. So they put it down on the floor, and it was there for decades until the 1970s. And there was a change to front-wheel drive, which limited the space on the floor there. So they put them back up where they originally had been almost 50 years before. But you don't really see them very often on the floor anymore, because not only was there not a lot of space down there, but a lot of the American companies wanted to pay tribute or I guess rip off these luxury European cars that had the dimmer switches on the steering column.
Yeah, remember they used to look like a little metal can almost that you would
Yeah, totally.
on. Yeah, it looked like almost like I like the starter in a fluorescent light fixture on the floor.
That's right.
That was pretty crazy.
It clicked. Yeah.
Yeah, it did. It made a click, a heavy
Yeah.
sound, of course, because everything was made like a battleship back then.
That's right.
Yeah, that's when they had metal. Exactly. Now, what was the name of the company that made these light bulbs?
It was called the Guide Lamp Company.
So what was the girl from Baywatch? What was her name? Pamela Anderson?
Yes.
Yeah, Canadian.
Yeah, Canadian.
Funny enough, she drove around with a high beams on most of the time.
Yeah, I wonder where her light switch was. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Richard, we're a couple of filaments short of a light bulb, if you know what I mean. As you're
I just
listening.
want everyone to know Richard's shaking his head right now.
Right. Well, thank you, Richard Krause. And yes, we are looking forward to 2023. By the way, you can check out that episode, Season 5, Episode 11. You go to our website, nickandroy.com. You can find it there. Season 5, episode 11. And, of course,
Wow. So that was season 5,
Yeah.
episode 11,
Right.
Richard Krause.
you're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy, the Christmas special 2022. We thank you for joining us not only today, but also throughout the year. We thank all of you for your support. Even, and we'll talk about this later on as well, some exciting stuff when it comes to birthday messages and something brand new that you'll find on nickandroy.com in the new year. But I was thinking about some of the traditions around the world. Like you and I have our own family traditions, but in the Czech Republic on Christmas Eve, this is what happens. The women who are unmarried, okay, they stand with their back to the door and they toss one of their shoes over their shoulder. If it lands with the toe facing the door, it means it means they'll be married within the year.
Oh, my God.
If it lands with the heel facing the door, they're in for another year of watching rom-com movies. So I guess it's better than marrying a heel after all. And if it's a stiletto and it hits somebody in the head, you have to go to the hospital. So that's in the Czech Republic.
Let me tell you, far be it from us to let people down at Christmas time without giving them some totally useless stuff to think about.
Yeah.
Nick is into jazz music because he has a lot of soul.
Oh, yes.
That was a shoe joke. Okay.
Yes, it was, yeah.
Norwegian scientists did a complete study on why Rudolph's nose is red.
It's not from his heavy drinking?
No, you would think. The general hypothesis after this very intensive study that Rudolph, the reindeer,
Yeah.
suffered from a parasitic nose infection,
Oh.
which made his nose bright red. Norwegian scientists. There's a lot of other things to think about.
You're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy, the Christmas special 2022. Thank you for joining us. We hope you and yours are having a very warm and Merry Christmas. You know who also was a frequent guest on our show is, Jeff Samet.
Oh, my God. We love Jeff.
So Jeff is a host of Canada Now on Sirius XM. But every week, not only do we spew totally useless information on the iHeartRadio Talk Network and also here on every podcast platform, but we're also spewing totally useless information on his radio show on Sirius XM.
Every week.
So Jeff was kind enough, very kind enough, to spread some Christmas cheer himself.
Hi, this is Jeff Samet from Sirius XM Canada Talks, host of Canada Now. Nick, Roy, thank you both for being weekly contributors to the show. And even more than that, thank you for all of the useless information that you provide to us all year long. Nobody does what you guys do, and we really appreciate it. Happy holidays to you both. Take care, and cheers to 2023.
He said weekly contributors. Now, how did he spell that? Weekly like WEEKLY or weekly like WEAK?
Like what we do on this show is weak.
Exactly. So what
Jeff's fun. I like Jeff because Jeff gets our wit.
He does.
Jeff is very similar to us as far as what we think is funny.
So here's the thing about Jeff. Jeff is a huge Beatles fan. Like I think he thought he was the 6th Beatle or something. This is how much of a fan he is.
Yeah.
I know there were only 4, but he thought he was the 6th. But anyway, in season 3, episode 14, Jeff, Roy, and I sat down and we talked a little bit about the Beatles.
And Jeff, because you are our guest, you'll go third. No, I'm just kidding.
I was getting ready.
All right, Jeff, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No,
You
that's
go
okay.
first.
So here's something that happened. This actually happened on my show. Like this isn't something. I have a bit of a theme to the facts that I would be giving you guys. I went with a song theme. Like I wanted to come up with facts about various Beatles songs, and one that I didn't know, that I didn't read about. I'm not sure if it's in any book. Apologies if you did know this, but I didn't know it. So I had Peter Asher on my show. And Peter Asher, of course, of Peter and Gordon. He's got a show on the Beatles channel on Sirius XM. So I had Peter Asher on my show. Of course, we were talking Beatles. And he was telling me a story because, of course, his sister Jane Asher, had gone out with Paul McCartney. And Paul used to stay over at the Asher house all the time. They loved him. And Peter Asher's mom, I believe, was like a piano teacher or played the piano or something. And nobody ever used the piano. The piano was in the basement. She was the only one that would ever use it. Anyway, so she had this piano in the basement, and Paul was really the only one that would ever use it other than her. So when he would stay over, he would often hang out in the basement and just kind of noodle around on the piano. There were times where he would actually do a bit of writing. Every once in a while, John would come over. John Lennon would come over, and as Peter Asher was telling me the story, he would say, sometimes John and Paul, they would get together and they would be writing. There was one time where they were writing, and they were in the basement, and Peter was home, and Paul knew Peter was home, and Paul said, yelled up to Peter, said, "Hey, Peter, come down and hear this song." So Peter came down, and they had just written this song, and they played it for Peter Asher, and it was "I Want to Hold Your Hand." And so I said to Peter, "Are you telling me that you are the first one to have ever heard the song "I Want to Hold Your Hand"? And he paused and thought about it, and he went, "Well, I suppose that's true."
Wow.
So Peter Asher was actually the first person to ever hear the song "I Want to Hold Your Hand." Can you imagine being the first person to have ever heard a song that everybody knows in the world and generations have since heard of?
Have you heard this show? You've heard my jingle, science, science, science. Nick was the first to hear that.
Right, yes. And I've been in therapy ever since.
I know you've heard of the Beatles, right?
Yes.
Everybody's heard of the Beatles.
Heard of 'em, yes.
But have you heard of Johnny and the Moondogs?
No.
No. What about the Rainbows or the British Everly Brothers? I got news for you. When John and Paul finally got together, the Quarrymen was John's band, but when they got together, Paul said, "This is my friend George Harrison." So now they started the band, and of course, I think Best was still the drummer, but Ringo comes along and they said, "We got to change the name. Why don't we call ourselves Johnny and the Moondogs?" And they did for like a week, and then they called themselves the Rainbows, and then they called themselves the British Everly Brothers. But John was really like into the fact that Buddy Holly had a band named the Crickets. And John said, "Wow, what a great idea. We'll call ourselves the Beatles after like a bug." So they believe that John picked the name because he was so in love with the music of the Crickets. And so that's what he did. So they changed the name from the Quarrymen to the Beatles finally after a few months of calling themselves Johnny and the Moondogs, the Rainbows, and the British Everly Brothers. Really.
That's a great name, the Beatles. I bet you it bugged the hell out of Buddy Holly. The song "Hey Jude." The Beatles recorded 4 takes of the great long song "Hey Jude." That's the kind of song that if you were a disc jockey on the radio and you really had to go to the bathroom, that's the song you put on. That and American Pie, because it's like 6-7 minutes long, right? So you play "Hey Jude." There were 4 takes to "Hey Jude." The first was selected as the master. With the drums intended to be absent for the first 2 verses, Paul McCartney began this take unaware that Ringo Starr was not where he was supposed to be, even though the drums don't come in till later. But he was unaware that Starr wasn't even there because Ringo Starr went to the bathroom. He needed to go to the toilet. He went to the loo. So they started the song, and 2 verses in, Ringo Starr makes it just in time, and as Paul McCartney once recollected, he said, "He was tiptoeing past my back rather quickly, sat down, and performed right on cue and started the drums in "Hey Jude" after the second verse."
So let's give you some useless Christmas stuff. Germans made the first Germans unser Deutschland. That's a Christmas time with the Saint Nick.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God. Germans made the first artificial Christmas tree.
They did. Okay.
And they made it out of dried goose feathers.
Really?
Yes. They would, of course, eat geese, and they would save the feathers, dry them out, and make artificial Christmas trees. Now, the reason, because of course they had plenty of trees, but the reason was they needed to stay warm. So they burnt the trees and made the artificial tree out of dried goose feathers. Pretty cool fact.
Now, Okay, here's another one. I don't know if you knew about this, but one of the early iterations of the artificial Christmas tree, they used toilet brushes.
I know we had that on the show.
Right.
Remember?
So, because when you talked about the artificial Christmas tree, it reminded me of that, right? So, yes, exactly. So, the manufacturer of toilet brushes decided to piece them together. And if you remember the old-fashioned ones, we had this long wooden pole and that had holes in them. They were color-coded, I
Yeah,
think.
and the wires, you stuck the wire into the hole. That
That's
was
right.
Just drilled holes in a friggin' wooden pipe.
And then after many years of usage, those holes became wider and wider, and so the branches sagged more and more, very much like us.
Right.
I imagine these were brand new toilet brushes. They weren't used.
No, but when Nick and I do the show, and we've done so many shows, 150 shows, nickandroy.com, of course.
Now, inventions is one of the many topics that we cover. We have over 14 or 15 topics that were from inventions to cars to money to science, even sex. But remember, we keep things nice and clean.
Yeah.
Here on Total
And
Uses.
we do have sex on the show.
What?
Not Nick and I.
Right. Okay,
But
then.
we talk about sex, which is pretty much what we do at our age anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So,
But it's like a Christmas gift. You know? Sex
yeah,
is like a Christmas gift.
yeah, it just keeps on giving and giving.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Sex is like a Christmas gift, Nick. You unwrap it and find out sometimes you're disappointed.
But sometimes make sure you don't shake the box first. You're listening to Totally Uses Information with Nick and Roy, the Christmas special 2022. Thank you for joining us. We hope you and yours are having a very warm and Merry Christmas. You're listening to Totally Uses Information with Nick and Roy, coming up on our special here, our Christmas special 2022. I'm going to give you the exact cost of what the 12 days of Christmas, how much it would cost you in today's dollars, from a partridge in a pear tree and so on. So we'll have the dollar value for that. We're going to have other traditions in around the world, what people do around Christmas time, and there's some songs that didn't quite make the top Christmas song list. What's the Christmas song with what's her name, Mariah Carey? I can't think of the title. Do you know what that is? All I want for Christmas is you. All I want for Christmas is for this song to
She's a nut,
stop.
She gets a Christmas special every year. But then again, so do we. So there you go.
Now, being part of the Italian tradition, okay, because Italians have their own way of celebrating Christmas. Now, everyone's Christmas songs are traditionally about what? Snow, trees, jingle bells, mistletoe. Of course, they didn't sing about all that stuff. They sing about, well, a donkey. It's Dominic the Christmas donkey. Or here's another one of those rejected Christmas songs. Nothing says the holidays like a child begging his alcoholic father not to pass out under the Christmas tree again. Okay, so thank you, John Denver, for reminding us that sometimes, people imbibe a little bit too much.
Like we do during the show.
No, we don't. Come on. No, we don't. You're listening to Total Uses Information with Nick and Roy, the Christmas special 2022. Now, have you ever had a hot toddy? I haven't. Have you?
I have had a hot toddy. In fact, believe it or not, my dad made it for me once. I wasn't feeling well, and he said, "I'm going to make you this hot toddy." And I think it consisted of like beef broth and bourbon.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was seriously disgusting. It was so disgusting. And my dad said, "How is it?" And I was like, I didn't want to make him feel bad. So I said, "Oh, it's great," And I got out of bed really quickly. So it did help my cold, because I thought if I had to stay there and have another hot toddy, I'd kill myself.
How was it, Dad? How was it? Oh, it was great. Here, have some more. No.
Yeah, and my dad fed a 12-year-old 12 ounces of liquor.
Yeah. Well, so as we talk about hot toddies, here's the recipe for a hot toddy in case you don't feel too well. You need hot water, whiskey or bourbon, as you say, honey and lemon.
Yeah, he put like beef broth in it or something.
Well, I guess you needed protein or something. Oh, and by the way, you said how it doesn't taste too good. If you put a cinnamon stick to it, it'll help it out a little bit.
Well, cinnamon stick, lemon, honey, and liquor is delicious.
New flavor from Halls.
Yeah, exactly. You keep talking. I'm going to go make myself a hot toddy.
There you go. Now, let's continue with some of these rejected Christmas songs. This is a song is about someone who decided she wanted to trap Santa Claus and kidnap him for a year. It's called, well, this is Peggy King and the Mitch Miller Orchestra. I'm going to put some glue around the Christmas tree. No, do not put any glue around the chimney or around your Christmas tree.
I have a question. I have one question for you, Nick. Do you remember who Mitch Miller was?
Barely. I mean, from years and years ago. Did he not have those sing-alongs?
Yes, he did. He had the sing-alongs, and he had a show that my grandmother used to watch.
Okay.
And I can actually remember the guy's face, this squared-off type beard that he had.
Yeah.
And he was this guy who did these, like, follow the bouncing ball type thing. And my grandmother would sit there and sing the songs.
You know what that was? That was the early iterations of karaoke, if you think about it.
It
right?
was Mitchioki.
Mitchioki. That's right, because the words will go up on the screen, and they'll have a bouncing ball on each of the words and so on as they sang and played the Christmas songs. But usually it was around Christmas time. Mitch Miller and his orchestra. Wow. So even if
he had a show on, I think it was like Friday nights. You know, my grandmother would be like, "Strike up the music, the band has begun, the Pennsylvania polka." You know,
exactly. Wow. So the early days of karaoke. My goodness. All right, here we go. As we continue our journey through the rejected Christmas songs on Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy, the Christmas Special 2022. This one is a song now. You know, country music is a big part of Christmas song music, isn't it? A lot of Christmas songs in the style of country, don't you think?
Yeah, country's kind of that heartwarming Christmassy thing, you know.
How about this one? How about this one by the High Plain Drifters? Santa, bring my girlfriend back.
Sounds like a country western song. And by the way, my dog in my truck at the same time.
No, that was the sequel. There you go. So please, Santa, bring my girlfriend back. Maybe
I remember singing a Mitch Miller tune one time.
Yeah.
It was very similar to the one that my grandmother used to sing. It was, "Take off your dress and let's have some fun. I'm about to polka."
Oh, no. Something like that. How many hot toddies did she have?
These are useless songs.
They are. These are rejected, useless songs for the holidays. But, yeah.
You said before that you had the amount of money that the 12 days of Christmas would cost?
Yes.
Well, how much?
Well, let's do that when we come back. And let me just gather up because I have to get my adding machine and my tape.
But you said, I don't want to excite the people listening and get them all stirred up, but you said you have the exact amount of money that the 12 days of Christmas would cost, correct?
In $22.
And the people have to wait now? They have to wait to hear?
They have to wait to hit. Yeah, well, of course. Why not? Because you're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy, the Christmas Special 2022. Roy and I are kind of reminiscing on some of the highlights, I guess, of some of the shows that we've had throughout the past, not just this past year, but several years, because we had some amazing guests and good friends. Okay, I will stop teasing you. No more teasing because it's the holidays. It's not really nice.
Nick, are you going to tell us what the 12 days of Christmas cost?
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree at the cost of $280.18. It's an increase of 25% from last year.
Of course. Thank you, Joe Biden.
On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 turtle doves, $600 for the pair, an increase of 33 1/3%.
Wow.
On the third day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 3 French hens at a cost of $318.75, an increase of 20%. Now, if you want a bargain, on the fourth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 4 calling birds, $599.96, the same price as last year, no increase.
Yeah, the calling birds.
That's right. Four of them for $599.96.
I don't like it because they use up all my minutes on my phone.
Okay. 4 calling birds. 4 calling collect birds. On the fifth day, of Christmas.
Nobody knows what that means.
No, not at all. Exactly. You have a great point. I don't know who has made a collect call anymore. Why don't you send us an email at nickandroy.com? Contact us if you've ever made a collect call. Actually, you can email us collect. On the fifth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 5 golden rings at a cost of $1,245, an increase of 39.15%.
Wow, everything's up between 20 and 40%.
Exactly.
Wow.
On the 6th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 6 geese a laying, $720. For
I
an-
like the geese that are laying.
That's right. For an increase of 9.1%. Always wear protection. On the where would you put it? On the the 7th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 7 swans are swimming. I'll say that without spitting. $13,124.93, which is the same price as last year.
Ah.
Okay.
So now we got something that didn't go up.
And not even the 6 geese are laying. On the 8th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 8 maids a milking at $58. Those are some cheap maids. $58, same price as last year. On the 9th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 9 ladies dancing at $8,308.12, an increase of 10%.
Yeah, especially if they're lap dancing.
That's right. 9 ladies lap dancing. Wow. On the 10th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 10 lords a leaping, like this program, $13,980 for an increase of 24.2%.
How they figure that one out? Like, what do they do? Go to England and be like, okay, what would you charge me to leap around, Lord?
Leap around in some leotards. 10 lords a leaping in leotards. On the 11th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 11 pipers piping for a total of $3,021.40, an increase of only 2.6%.
Yeah.
And finally, on the 12th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 12 drummers drumming for a total of $3,266.93, an increase of 2.6%. So all totaled, if you just take just those 12 items, it's a grand total of $45,523.27, an increase of 10% over last year.
That's a hell of a gift.
It is.
You know, in the song, My True Love in the song was originally meant to be a reference to God.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that. And I read that in a thing that I came up with. I also found something else out too. The total number of gifts in the 12 days of Christmas, 364 gifts.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, so it's not only costly, but it takes a lot to get them there. Could you imagine the shipping charges?
They should probably factor that in the next time. That, by the way, this is all based on PNC price index.
But I love it. I love the fact that the song really does take into effect things that people would probably enjoy, like lap dancing, laying some pipe.
No.
And yeah, oh yeah.
It's geese. They're saying geese are laying, but they're not saying what they're laying.
No.
You're listening.
Those lords are jumping around. They're doing some leapfrog. I don't know what they're doing, Nick.
They were
but it's in tights.
You know what?
And they're leaping over each other like frogs. I think that's what they're referencing. I'm not sure. Maybe we're watching a different video.
Yeah. They were goosed by the 6 geese a laying. You're listening.
They were goosed by the lords a leaping.
Oh, this show totally went down the naughty list, but what the heck? This is totally useless information with Nick and Roy, the Christmas special 2022. Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody. And thank you. 65 countries around the world, coast to coast in Canada. Millions of listeners at this point. I mean, it's amazing.
Pardon me, sir. Okay.
Yes.
We have 3 coasts in Canada. It's coast to coast to coast.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. 3 coasts.
I knew somebody that started once as well. Go on, Nick. Give us a fact.
All I want for Christmas is KFC. It's a tradition in Japan to eat KFC. This is not an advertisement for Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's a tradition.
Is it really? It's a tradition
in Japan to eat KFC for Christmas. But orders must be placed, get a load of this, 2 months in advance. And the reason for this is because it's a luxurious meeting of fried chicken. An associate professor of Japanese studies at the University of Sydney, Rebecca Suter, explains that Japan's love affair with Christmas and eating crispy skinned chicken developed in the 1960s because there was economic growth and the idea of having Western foods were new and fancy. So they're like, oh, this is something new and different. So, although turkey was traditional, but not many families had the space to roast a giant bird, as most Japanese kitchens were very small. So
Mhm.
people
like the people, Nick.
That's
Their
right.
ceilings are only like 5 feet tall.
Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, we're not going to waste any more of your time. But we want to thank you very much, sincerely, from the cockles of our hearts. We want to thank you for listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy all year round. Next week we have another exciting, and it's a really popular one. It's bloopers and best of 2022, and in some cases it's one and the same. But we want to thank you very much, and from our family to your family, however you celebrate, whatever you celebrate this season, make it a safe one, make it a memorable one, and we really truly appreciate all of your support and your patience with Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy.
And this year was a special year for me with the birth of my granddaughter. So my wife and I are just so blessed to have that happen to us. And so Christmas is a special time to spend with your family and your friends. It's the birth of Jesus, but it's also a time to remember how blessed we all are and the people that we know. And I want to thank Nick for all these years of friendship, which has been wonderful. Merry Christmas. I'm Roy.
I'm Nick. Merry Christmas to you too.